Um, so could you tell us what Jon Bel Edwards did to try to make sure that he was the only Democrat running for governor?
Well, he was limited in what he could do, and so what he could do was to go all around the state, speak just before any group that he could, line up support among his friends and among the trial lawyers, maybe some teacher union folks, but again, the thing that worked best to his advantage was it was just seen as so difficult to win the race. Vitter had so much money. Vitter had such success. He'd never lost an election. He had helped turn the legislature into a Republican-controlled legislature. So there wasn't much Jon Bel Edwards could do. But one thing he did specifically was he helped. He got the Democratic Party in March of 2015 to endorse him at a time when Mitch Landrieu hadn't committed yet. And it wasn't looking that Mitch was going to run, but that Jon Bel made it even more difficult for him to run by getting the Democratic Party, as I said, in March of this year to endorse him. And then Mayor Landrieu, the next month, April, announced that he was not going to be a candidate for governor.
And Mitch Landrieu actually didn't endorse anybody for governor until the runoff. Do you have any information in terms of why that was the case?
I don't have any inside information. Again, for so long, Jon Bel Edwards did not look like a winnable candidate. And as you mentioned, once he got in the runoff, he did get that endorsement, and a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon at that point. I know Mayor Landrieu was very important in raising money in the New Orleans area, particularly a fundraiser that was held at James Carville's house in New Orleans. But Jon Bel Edwards ran a lonely campaign for a long time.
Yeah, I think you reported that he had one person, paid staff, who was his, I guess, his driver. Maybe also he had a paid staff with Mary Ray. Am I correct?
Mary Patricia Ray came aboard as a paid staffer, I think, in January of this year. But a fellow named Chris Binder was the first employee and drove Jon Bel Edwards around the state. I noted again in this article that the governor-elect liked to listen to a satellite radio station called Willie's Roadhouse. Not one that I would listen to, but it's kind of an old country music station.
And so he would listen to that during his drive around the state. I mean, obviously, in the article, you also talk about a meat city, and a lot of people have not heard of the town. What type of person was he, based upon all the information that you've collected?
Well, there's a funny story that I was told by a state senator named Norby Chabert. This is the Wednesday before the election, and he's leaving an insurance office down in the Bayou where Norby is from. And he's leaving this insurance office, and an old woman sees him and says, "Vote for the Boy Scout, it's important." and he really seems to be the Boy Scout. Now, we don't know everything about him, but the Republicans certainly tried to find out everything they could about him. And, Vitter, his opposition researchers combed through Tangipahoa Parish, and they didn't seem to find anything. So, his background is a guy who was the seventh of 8 kids of the sheriff, whose dad had been sheriff, whose dad had been sheriffs. So like he had Jon Bel Edwards had a grandfather and great-grandfather who had been sheriffs in Tangipahoa Parish. High school quarterback, star athlete, married the girl he had met in 10th grade, goes off to West Point, does very well there, in charge of enforcing the honor code at West Point. Then becomes an Army Ranger, becomes a captain in the 82nd Airborne Division. He was sort of out of central casting for a Democratic candidate. And it turned out to be that Vitter was kind of central casting as the as the villain and candidate for the Democrats. And so then Jon Bel Edwards, I think he graduated from West Point in 1988, ends up going to LSU Law School, and hangs out his shingle in Amit as a lawyer. He practices. He's a trial lawyer, but also does local, the kind of stuff that a country lawyer handles, contracts and mundane stuff like that. And then gets elected to the state house in 2007. And I think he never really won that many votes. A state house is, you don't win that many votes. And then the idea that he could have the fortitude, the intelligence, the speaking ability, the discipline to run statewide and pull it off, that's another big challenge.
Absolutely. It sounds like the quintessential Democrat candidate, meaning the running and winning. It's a lot of people think that something like that can happen again, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, in terms of Jon Bel Edwards and Sam Jones, you mentioned that he told Sam Jones, and Sam Jones, the state rep, and also Sam Jones had worked with Governor Blanco, worked with him. Was that in any capacity other than just a friend? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did Sam Jones work in any campaign capacity? Do you know, other than, say, a supporter?
You mean for Jon Bel Edwards?
Yeah.
I think he was, they're very close friends. They are seatmates in the state house. After Sam Jones had a heart attack, heart problems, he moved in with Jon Bel Edwards during the legislative session. And so I just think he was a trusted advisor. And Sam's a very, smart political strategist. So I don't think he had an official role with the campaign, but just was very, very valued. And I think he'll continue to be very valued for Governor-elect and then soon to be Governor Edwards.